everybody? Welcome back to Record-ology. Okay, it's been a while since I did an on-camera thing. We are going to do one of my favorite things. We are going to a brand new, to me, antique mall to check it out. What am I looking for? I would love to find some cool records. I was looking for Glenn Miller, maybe some Patsy Cline, some K-Star, some cassette decks or little doodads. Who knows? Anything cool that'd be an interesting show topic item, that would be cool. But you're not going to want to miss this, guys.
Welcome to Record-ology.
So if you're at a place or a time that you can't go into these stores, live vicariously through this video. I want you all to enjoy it. It is just fun to kind of hunt, find treasures, even if you don't buy a thing, just to be there, to experience the history of it. I'm always thinking about what these items, if they could talk, the stories they could tell, the things that they bore witness to. And, you know, the history that they themselves bring to the table. Fascinating stuff. And so much to look at. There's always the license plate. If you guys ever know, if you go into an antique store, especially an antique mall, there will be a license plate collection. And I guess to each his own. But here we go. Some cool tech, some cool retro vintage tech. Turned out to be pretty dang pricey, most of this stuff, but very cool items. My favorites have to be, and you'll see them in a second here, this little house-looking radio and lamp-looking radio. Lamp-looking radio. But that house one especially, the thing is so cool. How unique is that? I think that is so awesome. Typical brown Bakelite-looking stuff here. But I think if I could pick, it'd be between the lamp and the little house radio, and it would probably be the house radio, because that is just so cool. By the way, I'm not going to tell you what I did pick until the very end. So I did get a few items. Unfortunately, these radios are not among them. There is one time during the filming of this, which you'll be able to tell that I set something aside. But most of the time I was pretty good about not showing it. There's some cool Hardy Boys books and vintage series books. I love that stuff. Some amazing stories there. If you haven't read Hardy Boys yet, I would recommend doing that because it is like stepping into the 1930s and 40s in a really good way. So this is a very unique store that's separated into different booths. It was 2 floors. Finally, we get to the records. It was 2 floors, and at first I wasn't finding much in the way of vinyl, but I eventually did, as you can see here, and we'll see more so. A lot of cool records to be seen. When we first walked in the door, I was a little hesitant because it seemed kind of more like a craft mart than it did a true antique store. A few of the booths up on top were mostly decorative items and stuff. And then I got a little bit further in and I was like, okay, we got a lot of cool stuff here. So there was probably 3 major booths that had some really cool records, some of which were actually divided into, genres. And I could look and see, what I wanted to find in terms of content and go through and find some cool records, and found a lot of surprises as well. This one's really neat. This is a collection of 12-inch swing records. And usually when it comes to 78s, 12-inch was reserved for classical, where popular music, as it was called at the time, big band stuff, was reserved for 7-inch. So it was kind of unique. A lot of 45s, and it's overwhelming to me. I don't take the time in these scenarios to look at when they're just in a paper sleeve and you have to read the label. I just don't have. I'd be there for a week and a half, which I personally wouldn't mind, but my wife probably wouldn't be too thankful for. When it comes to 45s, we really have to look at the sleeves. Interesting phonograph here, Gilbert brand, and look at the tubing on that pickup. I thought that was pretty impressive. A big band swing collection. This, I am in 7th heaven. So I'm flipping through here. Now, surprise of surprises here. I didn't pick anything out of this. If you could pick one section and say, this is my favorite section, this would be it. Yet I did not take home any of these records, which is, surprising. And speaking of records, there was so many to flip through, and I didn't want to have a 3-hour-long show of me flipping. So I only show a little bit of the record flipping. Some of the stuff that we're going to take home, you're not even going to see in this video until the haul part of the video, which is at the end. So stay tuned for that. So much to look at, so much, so many little things, and sometimes you'll come across these records and you'll see like a collection of somebody's records. I love these paper tags. You'll see a collection of somebody's records and you'll get an idea for what they were collecting. And sometimes you're like, I don't like any of this stuff. Like, this is totally not me. None of this is anything I would be interested in. Linda Ronstadt and all this stuff. Just not me, because it probably came from one person. This was their collection, which is fine. It's just their collection. But when you come across something you do like, usually I find more with it because they probably collected a lot more like material. Now, coming up here in a second is kind of interesting. I found a very unique Sony Discman, and I love Sony Discmans, and I collect portable CD players, but they wanted $25 for this thing. $25 is too steep for something like that, so I had to pass. So it was cool to see, but definitely a little bit too rich for my blood. Here are some more records. I kind of like it when they're in smaller bite-sized quantities like this versus coming up on 5,000 records, and it's very overwhelming. There's a booth that I show in a minute here, which we spent probably nearly an hour at picking because it was just so vast in scope. Whereas this, it's like you flip through it and you can get through the content pretty quick. By the way, I did come across a whole bunch of Judy Collins today, and I didn't do my famous Judy Collins dun 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 thing I do. Some people get a little frustrated when I do that, but there's a story behind all of that. I should have done it because I came across probably 5,000 different records by her, but this wasn't among those. So anyway, a lot of cool stuff. Okay, so here's the one. Yes, I did get the Glenn Miller. Now, this is a record that will scare me and make me wake up at night having bad dreams. That Herbie Mann, Push Push. Beautiful music. Probably one of the most horrific album covers to me, personally, of all time. This is that booth we spent an hour at, by the way. Cool RCA Victor Symes, some some Selectavision discs, a vintage tape recorder with a microphone. That's really, really cool. Some new old stock reel-to-reel tape, film canisters, including a big 35mm film canister, which is empty, and even model train stuff. Too bad it's HO scale. Mystic Moods Orchestra. I'm looking for One Stormy Weekend or Stormy Weekend. That is the sequel to One Stormy Night. If I come across that, I would be very happy. Those are the two ones I primarily like. A gorgeous Brunswick phonograph. Absolutely gorgeous finish. It does need a speaker horn cloth on the front. That's no big deal. Some Beatles stuff. Didn't find any Beatles records, unfortunately. That would be really cool. This is a reproduction Indian phonograph that is interesting to see, but not something I personally want to invest in, but definitely a cool piece of history. This is a cool Beatles, The Mystery Trip film canister. It was empty. Now this is really neat. This is actually modern. This is a Kickstarter project for a Bluetooth Gramavox horn thing. You hook it up to your phone and it plays music through that horn. Really, really cool. A Bakelite Zenith radio, classic stuff here. And this is really neat. This is a Victrola portable phonograph, wind-up phonograph. Really, really beastly heavy, starting to rust thing, but very, very cool. Now these are neat. These look like speakers that you would see in a studio, to an old radio studio, hanging on the wall. I took a couple pictures of them. I thought they were really, really cool. And that could have very well been what it was. Okay, now for the haul. I found it, you guys. One Stormy Weekend. Sorry it was so quick. The Glenn Miller Complete Set, Volume 2. Some cool records, and we're going to do more detailed reviews on many of these. Can't pass up the Glenn Miller stuff. We've got a cereal box record. We finally got an actual cereal box record. Really, really cool. This is part of a 3-part set. I already have the green one, so I added those. Some children's material. Got some golden records coming up here. So again, we are going to do more shows on these individual records and talk about the history of them, because some of them are super special, like these. I love these golden records. So lots of fun and a lot of cool content coming down the road. So tell me down in the comments below what you thought of my haul. By the way, Michael Jackson on vinyl? Yes, please. That was so awesome to find that from the Bad album. And of course, had to spin clean it. And that Bluebird label, that is my all-time favorite label. Too bad this particular series are Dynaflex. I don't particularly like that. I prefer the 60s thick vinyl. Okay, let me know down in the comments below what your thoughts are. Okay, guys, that is going to do it for today. Thank you so very much for watching. A lot of cool stuff. Somebody came up to us at the end and they're like, is that all? There's no limit. And I'm like, don't tempt me because I'll take everything. if I only had enough space for it all, right? But hopefully there's some interesting things here. Obviously, we're going to do full shows on some of these items as we found some really, really cool stuff. But that's going to do it for now, guys. Happy record hunting. We will see you tomorrow.